Remember him? Yeah, neither does he. According to the New York Times, Biden himself was against trans athletes competing against women. Quote, there are administration officials who believe that some transgender athletes would enjoy unfair physical advantages over women. One of the officials was Biden himself. So even as demented as he was, he could still tell boys from girls. All it takes, of course, is a sniff. Of course, Joe didn't say anything while in office, perhaps because he needed Rachel Levine on the White House softball team. Adorable. So you think the remaining Democrats might learn from the party's mistake? Well, you thought wrong. Politico just published a profile of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and what a profile it was. They kissed his ample ass for 2,000 words, one for each pound. J.B. Pritzker, more like B.J. Pritzker. And right off the bat, the governor says, hey, stop picking on trans kids. So who is he talking to? Parents? Concerned relatives? Who knows? Maybe Pritzker himself is gender confused because he hasn't seen his own since he was 10. Or he's building an alliance between the obese and the gender confused. Or as I call it, the trans fats. But let's be clear, there's no epidemic of trans kid bullying, because how many trans kids exist? It's a phrase created by activists and accepted by a meek and lazy media. Pritzker then parrots another trans talking point, that trans kids are most likely to commit suicide, a stat thrown around like a rhetorical grenade, but one that lacks a key ingredient, truth. To buy that, you'd have to be as dishonest as Jesse's hairstylist. It's a phony stat made to demonize parents who refuse to give in to pressure from activists cosplaying as therapists. The gist, if you don't lop off your kid's nuts, he'll kill himself later. This is false. Kids indoctrinated into this cult of delusion actually end up worse off than before. As a recent study found, trans surgeries boost the risk of mental health conditions and suicidal ideations. And gender dysphoria patients experience heightened psychological distress 2 years after surgery. You don't hear that on CNN. But the left stirs up gender confusion, then offers dangerous drugs and surgical butchery to fix it. That's like promoting weight loss, then treating it with donuts. But while Pritzker remains beached on Bud Light Island, the rest of the world paddles back to sanity. In what may be the most shocking thing to emerge from England since Piers Morgan's sex tape, the UK Supreme Court just ruled that trans women aren't women. And now even Prime Minister Keir Starmer admits that biological sex is in fact real. Yeah, you know, the lesson we all learned in 3rd grade, you know, when we first caught a glimpse of the school nurse. That Mr. Burkholz was something else. Great tits. So Pritzker is fast becoming an island to himself, though a more accurate term would be continent. In America, a doctor was fired for saying men shouldn't compete in women's sports. Now, just got a big settlement. And why? Because he was right. You can't fool Mother Nature, even if you insist she has a beard and a boner. New York Times poll found that 79% of Americans, including 67% of Dems, believe trans athletes should be banned from women's sports. Even if it would turn the WNBA into something watchable. It's clear the public is fed up watching their daughters lose medals, scholarships, and privacy, all in the name of a woke delusion. Yet here we are in 2025, and Pritzker is acting like it's 2015, when it was cool to bury your head up your ass, especially if you had as much room as he did. It's yet more proof the Dems still cannot figure out who they are. Turns out it's them and not the kids who are confused. If only there was a surgery to turn them into Republicans. And I guess she's both Snow White and a dwarf. Co-host America is the new Room at the 5, and author of the new book I will try some of that totally different. He's the reason they lock up Mountain Dew at Walgreens. Comedian Adam Hunter. In Spanish, her last name means happy hour. Fox News anchor Julie Banderas. And he goes to the big and tall section at the big and tall store. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, former Dana, congratulations on the new book. I've already read it. It's stupendous. Wow. If I ever wanted to create silence, I'll just repeat that wherever I go. Thought my mic died or something. So we'll just move on from that awkward moment. Imagine if Joe had actually had a spine at the time and spoke out. Maybe he would still be the nominee. I doubt it, but...
It's a mystery why people think somebody else was pulling the strings at the White House.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And he was like, and remember, Corinne Jean-Pierre, I love that joke about the Pride Parade, by the way. But remember, she was standing at the White House podium, and she said, yes, Joe Biden is running circles behind us at the White House. And
yes.
Wow, is he beating you?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah. The Pritzker thing is kind of interesting. So all of this is being, he is surfacing and getting media attention, and it's like a trial balloon, right? Mm-hmm. But with him, it's more like a lead balloon. Like
Definitely a balloon.
It's not going to work, right? He's going to fall right over. And then he says that he doesn't believe that transgender males would be able to beat women because he wouldn't either.
Yes, that is science.
That is just true. That is good. He's a very, very liberal guy.
Yeah.
Like, get to know him. His progressive policies make some people's look downright centrist.
Yeah, no, there's something creepy about him, and I'm not fat phobic. I'm just afraid he might eat me, Adam. That's not being fat phobic. I just have a fear of being eaten. I'm a very small person. I get stuck in Tyrus's teeth. Trust me.
He's quick, though.
Yes. Adam, what do you make of this? How the UK is coming to terms with reality, but America still has people like Pritzker.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy. It's only the UK can come up with dentists. But no, I mean, look, I think as far as trans athletes, we should just go to the expert, like Caitlyn Jenner. Because, no, I mean, Caitlyn was the best male athlete, and now she's saying that they have an advantage.
Right.
And by the way, she's running for governor of California. I'm going to vote because finally someone with balls.
Yeah.
But
that should be her slogan. That should be her slogan.
But look, Trump is banning trans people from the military. So once again, we're losing our privates.
That's good.
Is it? Is it good? They're like, I can't tell if they're like fortune cookie riddles or what. But I still like them.
I like them.
I'm always hungry after I hear them. So, Julie, always a pleasure to see you.
Sure.
Silent.
Don't believe a word he says.
Interesting. You know, Biden could have taken a stance, and he didn't. For women.
Yeah.
He hates women, doesn't he?
Well, he only likes Jill.
Yes.
I don't even think Jill likes him.
Yeah.
She made him stay in the White House. That's the only reason why he was there for the last 2 years. He would have bailed out. But Pritzker, I just got to go back to this whole trans situation, because the majority of the country definitely does believe that trans women should not be playing against biological women. And Congresswoman Mary Miller is actually trying to introduce legislation where there would be a federal investigation as to whether or not trans women can play against trans women can play against biological women. I think bottom line is this country is sick and tired of this whole trans situation. It's not about whether you're against trans. That's not what this is about. It's about fairness. Everybody agrees it's unfair for trans women to play against biological, and the Democratic Party just needs to move on and realize that this is all about what you were born with. The gender identity is about birth, not about, choice.
Exactly. Tyrus, I mean, you could conceivably identify as a woman.
Why on?
I mean, if you wanted to.
Yeah,
and
just
you could
take away my accountability and honor, truth-telling, facts. Spend my whole life asking him if my ass is getting big. No, I'm good.
No.
Hi, Dana.
Hi.
Are you sick of having to use the terms that they give us, whether it's trans kids, transgender women? It's men claiming they're
creepy
women.
Men.
Just do that.
It's bad acting young men. Who are confused and probably spent. Well, we know they spent hours upon hours upon hours on the internet and probably looking at a lot of porn sites and just getting unrealistic, and it's a real problem. And then you have to keep asking yourself, these are smart politicians. They wouldn't, he's a billionaire. He knows how to get things done. He also knows how to find food. So we know that he's able to, he's an intelligent man. So you have to, I always say, how come for? Why such planting the flag on this thing? Because this is what their core value is the smoke screen problem. It used to be white men. In the beginning part of the pandemic, it was white men are all the problems for everything, and I actually enjoyed that a little bit. But and then now it's another thing where they say these trans kids, and and what do these poor trans kids have to deal with? The evil society. Their suicide rate is high. They can't do it. But we're not seeing any of this stuff. So I always go back to the same thing, and I feel like it's a broken record. How much money are you making off this issue? How much of our funding is going to this issue? Because it makes zero sense for any person even to have this argument. I could sit down, and as a matter of fact, if I sat down two 5-year-olds, a 5-year-old little boy and a 5-year-old little girl, and I was like, how many genders are there? And they'd be like, she's a girl, ew, and I'm a boy. And then the little girl would be like, I'm a girl, and boys drool. You know, they know. Like, this isn't hard. So you have to ask yourself, why are these educated, financially successful people doing it? Obviously, there's a way for them to make some money.
And you think about, we got to go. I would love to hear from a doctor who performs these surgeries. Like, how did you end up in this specific thing, experimenting on kids? I'm curious, like, how do you decide to do that? And why? And I'm always thinking they were probably the worst med student, and it was the only thing left.
But Greg, it's not with, I know we got to go, but it's not with kids, but look how many people will bring these women in for plastic surgery, and they know they have no skin left on their face at all. They'll still do it.
No, it's like, why is JB dying on this hill? But then he would die on any hill.
Thank you. Exit on that beautiful joke. The Dems' new love affair next.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.